all, thanks for coming along tonight. I thought uh, one of the duties of the district treasurer is to make sure that his club treasurers are all well trained. So I thought I would leave you for a few months to get your feet under the table for those who are new to it, and for those that aren't, obviously, and then maybe put something together so that we can have a conversation about what uh, being a treasurer is really all about. So I'm just going to share a slideshow with you. That my plan tonight is I've put a little bit of a presentation together on a small number of topics rather, and the plan being to walk through those. I don't think that'll take us terribly long, actually. The idea is really just to cover off some of the basics of where we are, and then if we drop into a question and answer afterwards, then that would be absolutely fine. Do feel that welcome to interrupt if you've got a question or whatever that you're not sure about, then just let us know, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to share the screen there. Good. Okay. So welcome to this little seminar, this little webinar rather. The idea of tonight is to talk to you about some of the basics of being a club treasurer. So I've put an agenda together, which you can see on the screen at the moment. I'm going to talk through the roles, responsibilities, and duties of a club treasurer, and then we'll go on and describe to you the typical club treasurer's year. I want to talk a little bit about the separation between clubs and trusts, clubs and charities, if you like. 15 seconds on corporation tax, because I don't think it'll actually affect very many people at all. But I think it's worth mentioning. And then I've got to wrap up on a couple of other little bits and pieces, which I thought we'd go through. As I said earlier on, if at any stage you feel that you'd like to, break in and ask a question or whatever, or just raise a point, then by all means do. As I think I've mentioned on a couple of occasions, I'm not an accountant, so if I don't know the answer to the questions that you raised tonight, I'll take them away and I'll undertake to research them further. Of course, I'm also very, very nervous because I've got my predecessor in the room as well, Mr. Booker. So good evening, Mr. Booker, and I'm sure he'll be able to put me right if there's anything that goes not quite right. So first of all, who am I? Well, I recently retired from running my own business as an independent business advisor. So even though I'm not an accountant, I have been in the world of business, and inevitably finance is a large part of that. I was previously an IT director for a small multinational. So I've dealt with money on all sorts of levels for quite some years. I've been in Rotary for 16 years, and I'm club treasurer for the Wickford Club. And this is actually my third year as district treasurer. So that's me. What about you? Is there anybody in the room who's relatively new to treasury?
Yeah, Peter Rutland here. This is my first. Well, yeah, I've just restarted my second year.
You've just started your second, and Simone, you're new in as well, are you?
I'm very new. Yes, I only joined Rotary in July. Had not had anything to do with you before that, not for any bad reason, and I've never been a treasurer before either. But Norman, who has been our treasurer for a good 35 years,
right,
has felt it was time for him to step down.
And he thought he found someone to drop it onto. Is that what it comes down to?
Mug.
Yeah, you just didn't step back fast enough, did you?
That's it. That's
exactly what it comes down to. Okay, fine. I'm guessing.
Right, Mike Best here from Takeley.
Hello, Mike.
I'm in my first year as treasurer.
Right.
I took over from Lashmi Menon, who kind
Okay.
of bowed out halfway through last year. So I did half of her year and started this one. But I've done a bit of treasury stuff before, so
Elsewhere, so you know a bit about
elsewhere, yeah.
treasury,
So
but
got an
not
idea what
necessarily.
we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, good. No, that's
Well,
fine. Thank you.
I'm
And
John
Peter, you said
Bahrain.
so again?
I'm John Bahrain from
Yeah.
I was treasurer of the Brentwood Breakfast Club before it folded,
Right.
but I've just literally taken over at Mildmay because the previous treasurer unfortunately passed away about a month ago. So I've been sort of dropped in it during the year. So
Oh,
I'm trying to
goodness
take
me.
over and sort things out. Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear about that. It's one of those things that happens, but
it does. Yeah.
well done for jumping in.
I was a bit slow in taking the backward step when they said, "Does anybody wants to volunteer?"
I think over the years a lot of us have done that, haven't they? You know,
Mm.
it's one of those things that happens if you're not careful.
Need
And
to
Peter,
sit on your
you said that yours was a fairly recent post as well. Peter Rutland.
Yeah, well, our previous treasurer decided, obviously, various reasons to leave the club. It gave us about sort of 6 weeks notice. So, I was at that time I was president, so to look forward, obviously, to the president coming in the next year, just asked me to do it because I've got a banking background rather than finance background or accounting background. So, but he did leave me with a lot of good spreadsheets and such like to follow. So that was very helpful. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Excellent. Okay. So, so thank you for that. I'm guessing the rest of you have done this for a little while. So,
No, not me.
oh well.
You know me. You know.
I know you. I know you.
Gloria.
Chris, I'm Colin here.
Yep.
I'm actually a secretary and an assistant treasurer. Our treasurer is meant to be joining us, but isn't yet. So I'm just covering the ground just in case.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that Kevin?
Sorry, say again.
Was that Kevin?
Dummo.
Yeah. No. Was Kevin the treasurer who's coming later?
No, it's Andrew Simpson.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Fine. Good. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So we'll kick off. As I say, if you've got any thoughts that you want to follow up as we go along, by all means do. Hey, that's a long list, isn't it? Responsibilities of a club treasurer. I dug this out from I can't remember where now, but it does look as though we've all taken on much more than we intended. But the responsibilities of a club treasurer, obviously, to maintain all the bank accounts, to be a point of contact for the bankers, the charity commission if need be, and all that sort of thing. Receive payments and receive income and payments going out, make payments according to the club council decisions, and in the case of club trust funds, the trustees. To prepare regular financial reports for club council and subsequent members, prepare the annual accounts in time for typically the special general meeting, and help with the development of the budget for the following year, and obviously complete and file any returns that need to be made. And if there's a charitable trust, obviously do the same sort of things for all of that. And additionally, if you're in a position where you can, to claim gift aid as well, just to boost the lot. And of course, that caveat at the bottom: any other financial duties normally associated with the office of club treasurer, because of course we all know that things come up, don't they? I know in our club, I ended up with the role of membership secretary as well. That seems to come as part of treasury, and I think that's not unusual either. So, what does that really mean? Well, this is how it feels for me, that really whatever the club is doing, in any way, shape, or form, you're in the middle of it. Money tends to govern an awful lot of what Rotary does, and really you're there in addition to the things you do as part of the projects and activities within the club. you're there really to help make the whole thing happen. You're involved not only, as I say, as a Rotarian, but also as the finance person. But this is the one for me, is that you're not the arbiter of what should and shouldn't be spent. I know a lot of people find that individuals will come up and say, "Can I spend money on this, please? Can I spend money on that?" It's actually not. That's not your decision. And I think it's quite important to get that message across. That really is the decision of club council in the case of club funds, and obviously the trustees in the case of the treasury. But you are really the voice of financial reason, because I know, coming back to my own experience, it's not unusual for individuals, be they officers of the club or other, who are so enthused about a particular project that they want to go out and do all these things. And you may or may not have an opinion as to whether it's a good idea, but it's your duty really to make it clear to those people what the financial implications of doing that are. And I think that's a major, really important aspect of what that means. How does that make you feel?
I think that's right.
I couldn't agree more, Chris. I really couldn't. I think that's it. You're going to find some of the newer members of Rotary are actually going to come to you and ask you and your financial opinion rather than giving the financial reason. They really want to sort of sway you to be able to spend the money. And I think you've got to divorce yourself from that and become that voice of financial reason, no matter your opinion.
I think exactly that. You have to be you have to put the morals of the thing to one side to sometimes, and actually take a very objective view. This is something we can afford to do. This is something we can't afford to do. This is something which is too much of a financial risk for the club, or whatever else it happens to be. Certainly, one of the things that I did a few years ago, we actually identified, after having done the fireworks display in Wickford for many, many, many years, we got to the point back in, I think it was 2019, and I don't know if you recall, but 2019, the weather was really bad around about November the 5th, and we were within 40 minutes of having to call off our fireworks display, and that was the point at which our club realised that actually we were taking too big a financial risk with it in the format that we had the event at that particular time. And really, that's the sort of thing that I mean by the voice of financial reason. It was a realization for me. It was a lesson learned for me, because I'd been treasurer for a couple of years prior to that, not really thinking about the risks on that one. And I think that was a lesson learned all round. So, what do we do in the year? What things are we responsible for doing which really don't, really fit into the timetable of the year? I think the first thing we need to be in a position to do is to prepare a budget to be presented at the AGM. And I'm going to go into a couple of these in a little bit more detail in a moment, once we've got the actual calendar laid out. And incidentally, the items on this list are something that I pulled from Bob's presentation when he used to do the training at District Assembly. So this is really goes back a long way. In May, start thinking about renewing memberships. I think it's really important to get this done early, because invariably it takes longer than you expect it to understand who's in the club, who isn't, and make sure that they all understand where they are financially. In July, obviously, pay the fees to both RGBNI and also to District. District fees are due in one hit at the end of July. RGBI is taken in two halves at the end of July and the end of January. And again, I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Before December 31st, get the club accounts for last year accepted. Now, this to some degree depends on when you have a special general meeting, but you need to get the club accounts submitted to the SGM. In our case in Wickford, we have that SGM in November when we elect the incoming officers for the following year, and we get the club accounts accepted. December 31st, trust fund. Submit the Charities Commission. Again, I'm suggesting before the end of the year. You've actually got 10 months to do it from the financial year end. But again, you end up with quite a lot to do in the early part of the year. So I think it's a good thing to get out the way early. Yes, Simone, how can I help?
Thank you. I have no idea what you've just said. Submit the Charities Commission.
Okay. Do you have a trust fund in the club?
We do.
You do. Okay. What happens is that once a year, if you've got a trust fund and therefore and that trust fund is actually deemed to be a charity, which I'm guessing it is, the Charities Commission require you to make a return on the financials for the last Rotary year, and that return is published on the Charities Commission website, so that it's publicly available information around what you've spent over the year, who your officers are, and all that sort of stuff. It's a fairly simple process once you've got the information in place, but you can't actually do it until you've got your accounts accepted by the club. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail. But
we will go into.
If one thing you should find is that your predecessor should have been able to give you access to the Charities Commission website, and if they haven't, that's something that you'll need to do.
Right, that's what I needed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Can I just add something, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been in this role for 3 years now, and the very first year I do the Charity Commission every July, so I'm pretty early in. Get it done, get it out of the way, so it's all done.
Yeah.
The very first year I did it, I was very pleased with myself. Filed it away with the accounts, got them all audited, and I found the following year that I was 10 months late. So a word of caution is when you go right through that Charity Commission, there's a hidden submit button right at the end that I didn't find on that very first year.
Right.
So I'm very diligent with my dates, and I that kind of upset me at the time. So yeah, put a word of caution really, just to keep an eye on that, because that's
the sort of thing that we really need to know about, isn't it? I have a habit, Andy, of after I've submitted it, they say it takes 2 days or something, but it's normally on in about 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I normally put it in my diary to go back and check it's there 2 days later.
Yeah,
to make sure, because it's the sort of thing which we can all get caught out on. And but thanks for highlighting.
No, well, I printed the whole thing off, put it in the files, assuming that was done. That was the first year. So I got caught out. Never again.
Never again. You only do it once. You only do it once.
Chris, they do send you an email to confirm that the submission has gone in and therefore it has actually been recorded.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was my first year. So
yeah. Yep.
Chris, just a point of, I don't know what you call it now. The Charity Commission return and the annual report has to be submitted by the person who is the senior trustee. Now then, quite often that is the treasurer, but if he's not the treasurer, he's got to be liaising with the secretary and the trustees to make sure all the right information is made available. But the responsibility falls to the trustees.
Yes, that's right.
But you can nominate the person who's the HMRC contact. So he doesn't have to be the chair of trustees, whatever. You just need to say who it is and what their role is, and then once that's the case, they'll accept your submission.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, it's easy for me because I'm secretary and I'm leader of the trustees, so I just do it. But I mean, you're absolutely right. Anybody can do it as long as the Charity Commission are notified who it's going to be.
That's right, and it doesn't actually even have to be a trustee. That's the interesting thing. The person who is the contact doesn't actually have to be a trustee, strangely, although most of the time they are. So Simone, that's something you need to do, is to get yourself as a contact on the Charities Commission website. Okay, thank you for that. That's a really useful interjection. And then obviously comes back to membership again. We'll go through this in a bit more detail. Before December the 31st, confirm the members who are continuing into the second half of the year. And that's that membership get it sorted early message again. It's just so easy to overrun and find that, especially in the case of RGBNI, that they invoice you for people who are no longer with the club. And then obviously in January, pay the fees to RGBNI, which is the second half of the process. The very last thing you need to do, which I've just realised, is it is on here. It's on a separate page. So that first item that we had there was all about the budget, and here are some relevant points about the budget. This comes back to the point that we talked about earlier on, which is you are not there to decide the budget. You are there to facilitate the decisions of the club. What I would do again is to start early. You need the budget in time for the AGM, because that's when the budget would normally be accepted. So engage early with the president-elect and the other officers in the club to determine what their plans are. They are the people who own their plans. They may have some really interesting plans which are going to cost some money during the year. That's the sort of thing that you need to collate into that budget. And the way, again, that we do this within our club is we talk to the various officers. What is it you're going to do? You can use last year's budget as a model quite often. Identify it on a nominal ledger line by line basis is the easiest way. Work out what the spend is, and then obviously once you've identified what the spend is, determine where the money's going to come from, because it's going to come from only one of two places. It's either going to come from reserves or it's going to come from the membership fees, at which point you can then arrive at what that membership fee will be. So the budget should...
Chris, I think there's one more thing on there. You need to add another title in there. You're still the voice of reason.
Absolutely.
You get some funny ideas coming from members.
Oh yes, yeah. No, you're right. The whole point here is that, and really that determining whether or not the club can afford it,
yeah,
potentially can become a bit of a cyclical conversation. Okay. Hello, Kevin. Welcome aboard. You've only missed a few minutes, so don't worry. Yeah, it could potentially become a cyclical conversation, because you may well say, well, this is what we've got, and then they say, well, we can't afford that. So what are we going to do instead? Are we going to raise some more money? Are we going to increase the membership fee, or are we not going to do the job in the first place? So that's the sort of process that you end up finding yourself with. Once you've actually identified all of that information, compile and present the budget to the club at the AGM. But remember, when people say to you, I hate your budget, Chris, because they've said it to me, well, actually, it's not my budget. It's you lot. That's the whole point. It's this financial reason. You're there. The whole team needs to support you because it's their budget. Okay. On membership, confirm who's renewing and get them off. If they're not renewing, get them off the membership list at the end of June and at the end of December. Otherwise, you will be charged. Now, the things I think which are really important here, and we actually suffered with this quite a lot during the course of this year, was that there were quite a few clubs that didn't have their 25, 26 officers registered on Rotary View. As a result, RGB and I don't know who the officers are, so they can't send you the details. This year they actually started putting the invoice out on an email, as well as you being able to go and pick it up from RV. But we had quite a few clubs during the course of this year who came to me and said, how do I get hold of my invoice? I haven't had it yet. If you're not registered as a club admin, ideally the treasurer, obviously, then you won't see your invoice because they won't know who to send it to. You should be able to... Go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. Rotary View had a problem, which I took up with them, in that they had the treasurer and the secretary and the others listed, but they didn't have any officer role for club administration. And they changed the thing. It is not actually in the list of club officers. It's actually in the left-hand margin where against the individual members, where you can tick if they have club administration rights. Now, that was a change that was done as a result of a query we raised. I'm assuming others raised it as well. But the club administration is not vested in the treasurer or the secretary.
That's interesting, because I didn't know that. I have to admit, I thought it was the same as it was the previous year, that it was followed through.
No, it was Rotary View is nearly right now. I checked it yesterday, and it still had a couple of members wrong. It hasn't transferred the information from my Rotary and the database absolutely perfectly. And one of the things I'd recommend is that you go into it and check it, because it's still not quite right.
Yeah.
But if you have a look at the left-hand column where the members are listed, there's a box to tick if you want them to have club admin rights.
Thank you for that, Colin, because that had passed me by, I have to admit. I to be honest, I don't do it. I have my secretary do it. But he obviously knows about that, and I didn't. So that's good.
If he doesn't, your records are not being kept up to date.
No. Well, I know they're being kept up to date because we're getting the info, so that's good news.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's good. Okay. So what you will find, your RGB and I invoice, as I say, now they email it as well, but you can find it on RV. I will send you the district invoice in an email. The specific thing is then obviously to call for membership fees from your members. And as I said earlier on, we take the district fees once at the end of July. RGB and I is payable in 2 halves. Are we the only club that actually invites members to pay the whole lot in June, July?
No, we do. We pay the whole lot.
We do that.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, we do the whole lot in June. Although if a customer asked to pay, member asked to pay in 2 halves, then we allow them to do that. Yeah.
We're right. Okay. Because what we do is we if people want to pay the whole lot in one lump, we let them do that, and then we hold on to it. Yeah. We don't let it go too early. But that's
our treasurer also. Excuse me for coughing. He tells people he does not want them to pay before the end of June. He only wants them to pay their fees in July.
In July, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, I'm going to mute.
Yes, it is. It is a lot easier in accounting terms if you don't actually take the money from members until July, because otherwise it ends up in the wrong.
It's in the wrong year.
Accrue it all across and all that sort of thing. Sorry, Brian, we're going to say something then.
Yeah, I'm just going to say we do exactly the same. They're all going to be dated the 1st of July onwards. We avoid the 30th of June or 29th of June.
Yeah,
completely.
That's fine. Good. Okay. Annual accounts, again, prepare the accounts for the last Rotary year. Charity accounts obviously are separate from general accounts, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. Get them inspected or audited by either an independent qualified auditor or accountant, or by 2 independent members of the club. I mentioned there the treasurer's manual. Has anybody
No,
got the treasurer's
I'm not.
manual?
I don't be disrespected. Can I interrupt you there? The accounts are examined. Audit is a completely different entity. On accounting terms, there are not many firms now that actually need auditing.
That's true.
They're
That's
examined.
true. Yeah. No.
And you can fall foul on if you do a report up and put audit rather than examination.
Yeah. I've always used the term inspected, but yeah, you're right.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
It's close on. I've mentioned the treasurer's manual there. I'll touch on that later on. If anybody hasn't got it, I can make that available to you. It's actually on the Rotary website. Present the accounts to the club, ideally at the special general meeting. Again, that's back in November. It's unlikely, to be honest, that most clubs have any corporation tax to pay. But if you do, and we'll come on to that in just briefly, submit the CT 600 and pay the tax, obviously. And submit your charity commission return, which we've already talked about to some degree, within 10 months. Again, I always think it's good to get these things out of the way before the end of the year, because otherwise it just runs away with you and you're too far away from the event. And obviously submit the accounts confirmation form to the district treasurer. Okay. I made the mistake last year and the year before of issuing the accounts confirmation form to clubs back in about August. And I think that's a bit premature, really, because most people don't actually get round to finalising their accounts until much later in the year. And so I then find myself chasing people for things when they haven't even finalised the accounts. So I will be issuing the accounts confirmation request within the next couple of weeks. As soon as you've got them, if you could let us have the confirmation form back, I would be very, very grateful. Clubs and trusts. We all know this, don't we? A Rotary Club is not a charity. The trust fund potentially is. You can have a trust fund without it being a charity, but in Rotary terms, the reason you would have a trust fund really is so that you can be declared as a charity. And it's really important to understand the distinction between the two. It's typically a separate entity with its own bank accounts and a bunch of trustees who make their minds up as to what they're going to spend the money on. And you need to separate the trust from the club in financial terms. That's really, really important. You can get into all sorts of pickles if you don't get that squared off before you start. Obviously, a separate set of accounts which are approved or inspected separately and signed off separately. Again, as we said earlier on, you're the agent of the trustees. You're not the arbiter of the funds. But the big thing really here is that don't confuse the general account with the charity account, because it'll get all sorts of mixes up. You can add value by claiming gift aid where possible, but please obey the rules. The rules basically are that donations to the club, you can claim gift aid on them if it is the donor's own money and that they are not actually accepting anything in return for that money. Those are the two basic rules. But you do actually risk perjuring yourself if you sign off against a gift aid claim, and that's not the case.
Chris, can I just mention something quickly on gift aid?
Yeah.
Because I took over as treasurer July last year.
Yep.
And I submitted the gift aid claim after April of this year. What we hadn't done is update HMRC records relating to gift aid as to who was the current treasurer and their address.
Okay.
So they rejected our claim on that basis. Then it took them a while to. I submitted the appropriate form. They said I updated the form, and then I resubmitted, because I copied the original submission. I resubmitted the submission exactly as it was previously. Now, because I had done that, they assumed it was just a duplication of the submission, and it went into an empty box somewhere, and I never got paid out.
Oh, wow.
So I then had to contact them again, and they said, well, you need to make 1 or 2 minor changes to your resubmission, so it doesn't think it's just a duplication to do that. So if anybody comes across that and they have to resubmit it for any reason, just make sure you do
Sure.
1 or 2 little changes in, the name or initials or whatever on that sort of thing. So it's just a point to remember.
Peter, does that mean you put 1 claim in for the year?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Again, what we tend to do in Wickford, and I'm really calling on Wickford as my experience in this sort of affair. We actually make claims on each project or event as they come up. And if you do that, then first of all, okay, you get nibbles of money all the way during the year.
Yeah.
But what it does mean is that the moment you've got it, you can pay it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
It is quite useful. So yeah, just but thank you for that, Peter, because it is the sort of thing that catches people out, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing I've discovered is if you, I have it with banks actually. I still have a problem where one of the bank accounts in the club, the address has been corrected, but the name of the person on the account is still not me. And I've tried 3 times now to get NatWest to change it. I can't get them to change it. But
that's a generic problem.
Yeah,
I'm having it. Same problem with TSB at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I had the same problem. Bob Booker was holding the records, as it were, for a number of the accounts because I just didn't get around to changing them sooner. It was one of those things where it didn't seem important at first, but then all of a sudden you find out that it is, and that was quite an important one. Okay.
Can I just add something there?
Yep.
We're with I know Colin, you mentioned TSB. We're with TSB. The bank moved from Harwich over to Ipswich, so it's a long way away for us. But I found trying to change it, I've had to do a complete board of resolution, plus all the name changes and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah.
And once it was all done, that was kind of fine, but it wasn't straightforward. That board of resolution, they sent me a board of resolution, but the one they sent me had to be in our own headed paper, our own words, so that had to be resubmitted. So it was a bit of a battle. But once we did it, it's sorted because, again, with TSB, you need a card now to pay money in. We've never had a bank card. So we've now, I've actually asked for the bank card yesterday, so I should get it within 2-3 days. But
this is a payment deposit card.
Yeah. Well, you end up with a debit card, but because they won't take paying in books now.
No.
Which is a bit of a bind because you want that receipt for the records.
Wow.
I run the local day centre, and it's been an absolute pain trying to sort out the paying in. I've got a card, but even with the card, the counter people have actually got to know how it works. And checks are still done under the old system, but cash is done under the new system.
Yeah.
And
we just my panic came because we just, I don't know if anybody knows, but we do a big carnival at the end of October.
Yeah,
and we tend to take anything between £3,000 and £5,000, but in change, in pennies, tuppence, pounds, and coins and stuff like that. Last year, it was a nightmare taking it into post offices where they count every bag. This year, we did manage to get it into one vehicle that we could take to Ipswich and get it sorted. And I have to say, they were brilliant. But
excellent. No, it's good.
Changing the details, and what I found with TSB was, although I took over as treasurer 3 years ago, they had in the branch changed everything over for us. They had the right signatories and stuff in the branch. But as far as TSB concerned, it was still the old treasurer. I was down as authorised but not a signatory. It was a complete debacle, really, and it's because from what I gained from their telephone people, it was because that's the way branches worked. They knew who was coming in. They just put it and tucked it to one side, and it was done.
Yeah.
This has took, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours on the phone, I would say.
Yep.
And probably the best part of a month, and a bit of panic because we had this £5,000 to pay in. So
yeah, no,
yeah,
and I think you're not alone. I think there are always issues with banks. Yes, so
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Are we talking here about the named person on the account?
on the bank.
On
as
a bank
well, yeah.
So that's the problem I'm having as well. So how do we go about? So Nigel's been the treasurer for 30 odd years. How do I go about? I mean, I've got all the online banking sorted, but I cannot get his name changed. And I just don't know how to do it. I don't know
Which bank is it, Simone?
Is it CSB?
No, it's NatWest.
We found that the only way to do that was to ring them up and be patient on the phone, and then ring them up again, and then ring them up again, and then ring them up again, and eventually it got sorted out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say the same thing because I had that. It was NatWest that I had that problem with as well. So yeah.
Has anyone thought about closing down that account and reopening a new one?
We're doing that now.
Are you?
We're going from Metro because their services have all closed up, and we're going over to Co-op.
Okay. And do you think that will be a better way?
Well, it seems positive.
Okay.
Let us know how you get on, Gloria, because
Yes, please.
I will.
we're fed up with ours.
That I think is a big challenge. I think a lot of people find it with different clubs, with different banks rather. I know Barclays has their own way of doing things, that's for sure. And yes, Brian.
Change of subject.
Give a plug. Actually, for Lloyd's Bank, we've had zero trouble.
Excellent.
Just went in there, got the form, sat down with the girl. It was done just it was straightforward with Lloyd's, I've got to say. We've had little trouble, and I had little trouble when we started on internet banking. It just seemed to be seamless. On another charity that I deal with, which is with NatWest, I've been trying for 2 years to change a name. It seems NatWest are one of the worst. They really are.
Useless when we try to do that.
Yeah, it seems as though with NatWest, there are about 5 different places where they hold a name and address, and none of them seem to talk to each other, which is a strange thing.
No.
Well, we on this other charity, we've opened a deposit account, and in the end, it ended up with me physically withdrawing money from the current account and then paying it in physically to the deposit account. They could not arrange a transfer.
That is just crazy, isn't it?
But dear old Lloyds have been pretty good.
Chris, sorry, a change of subject.
Yep.
You moved very quickly into your second point. The trust fund is potentially a charity. So I found that the club that I'm a member of had moved. It said it had a charity account, but it actually didn't.
Okay.
It called it a charity account, and so other clubs might have the same problem. Now then, I tracked back through God knows how many years, and I found in 1994 they actually submitted a deed of trust. They entered into a deed of trust, and that is what you have to have if you have to have it. If you've got a charitable account. Now then, about 2012, the rules, the guidance from Rotary changed on how you would manage a deed of trust. So if you've got an older one and you have got a deed of trust, you might not be running it to the current rules. So it's worthwhile just doing a little bit of research and finding out what the current requirements of the trustees and the reporting is.
Thank you, Colin. That's again. It sounds like you've been doing this for a few years, Colin.
No, not that long, but I've got a few burnt fingers.
I was going to say, I think we've all got slightly burned fingers, haven't we? Somewhere along the line, you know.
Yeah.
Just different burnings.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right. So, any other thoughts on clubs versus trusts at the moment before I move on? No? Okay. I'm going to touch on this one because this came up. This actually came up at district level last year, and all of a sudden I had to find out quite a lot about this sort of thing. As I say, it's unlikely to be an issue for a club, but you need to be aware of the potential for corporation tax liability. Corporation tax is obviously paid on taxable sources of income. Member fees are not deemed to be a taxable source, and that's because the member fees are what generally support the club's existence, really, in terms of the general account. And as a result, it's deemed that you all own it, you all own the money, and therefore it's not actually a separate revenue stream. But these are the taxable sources. I got this little diagram, would you believe, off the English Rugby Union website, because it just made it all clear for me. So basically, you're unlikely, unless you've got property or any capital property of one sort or another, which is owned by the club and is sold by the club for the gain of the club, again, not the trust, then capital gains is unlikely to affect you. The same for property income, unless you've got property and you're gaining revenue from it, that's part of the club, then you're unlikely to have anything there. Trading income is where you sell to people outside of the club, and for the gain of the club, and not the trust. And the example, funnily enough, on the rugby union website, was where a rugby club might have a bar, and they allow other people to use the bar, either as associates or members or something like that, and the proceeds from the bar go into supporting the finances of the clubs. Yes, Simone.
Sorry, we have some timing machines that are used for jog, walk, run, and we hire these out to other places, other Rotary clubs, in fact, and they give us money for the use of those. Right. Would that be?
Where does it go? Does it go into the general account?
No, trust fund.
It goes into the trust fund. In that case, it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And we'll come on to that in just a moment. The most likely source of taxable income is bank interest. And that's mainly the one that you have to think about. But fear not, because the first £100 of tax liability is tax-free.
Chris, can I just ask, interest earned on behalf of the trust, is that taxable, potentially?
No, because it's a charity.
Okay, so it's just purely the club we're talking about.
It's just the club. It's just the club money.
Okay, thanks.
So, tax £100 worth of tax liability is basically £526 worth of bank interest, which means if you've got that, then that means your general account probably is sitting on around about £30,000 or £35,000. I don't know many clubs that have got that much money in their bank accounts. Not in their general account. They might have it in their trust account, but they don't have it in their general account. If you do fall into that category, or if HMRC are aware of you and you're not hitting the £100 worth of tax liability, then you can apply to HMRC to be dormant. And as I said earlier on, through the good offices of Bob, the district has been dormant for quite some years, until the year before last, when all of a sudden, if you remember, bank interest rates went up.
That's right, yeah.
And all of a sudden we found ourselves with a corporation tax liability within the district. So the reason I'm mentioning this is not because you're likely to have it, unless you're a very, very rich club, but just to make you aware that it's something that you need to think about. Charity monies are not affected because, well, for obvious reasons. But if you don't, and there are some clubs out there that don't actually have a charitable trust, but still make donations out of their general funds. I'm not 100% clear what the tax liability rules would be in those circumstances, because basically you could say that anything that a club does in terms of selling goods or whatever, or even running events, it could be deemed that that is for the gain of the club, and then you happen to make charitable donations out of that. So I'm not quite sure what that is. So talk to an accountant if you find yourself in that position. I think most of the people here have got a trust fund, so I don't think it's likely to be.
You can't make a charitable donation unless you are a charity.
No, you can make a donation to another charity.
Well, you can make a donation to a charity.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
From club funds. If you've got a surplus, there's nothing to stop the club deciding to donate it to a charity.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
But just really to make you aware that there is something there to think about, although in the majority of cases I don't think it's going to be of any real concern.
Well, yeah, can I ask? We are only talking about the general account there. We're not talking about the charity accounts, are we?
Yeah.
Cool.
The charity
Thanks.
accounts we don't have to concern ourselves with at all.
Good.
Okay. So the mechanics. We all need to have a way of creating a set of organized accounts. What do you use? What do people use generally?
Yeah.
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. Mike?
We use a software called Club Treasurer.
I was hoping you were going to say that. It is quite funny because when I put out the initial note to say that we were going to do this Club Treasurer training evening, Mike came back to me thinking I was going to actually talk about the software called Club Treasurer. And in fact, I've expressed interest in trying to get my head around this, and I'm hoping to go along and visit Mike on some occasion to go through the product. And I think it's quite important because going back to what we were saying earlier on, I'm actually for the district going to have to start looking for some software because making tax digital is going to impact people who are liable for tax during the next year. So we've got some things to do there. Okay.
I understand that quite a few Rotary clubs use Club Treasurer.
Right.
And in fact, just recently I was contacted by them saying, would I talk to a club somewhere in Wales?
Oh, well.
And when I spoke to the guy and explained to him what we did and how we use Club Treasurer, I was, I think, the fourth or fifth club that had spoken to him.
Really?
Yeah. So quite a number of clubs use it.
Right, that's useful to know. That really is useful to know. I think it warrants investigation, and I suspect that using something a package like that, it probably makes life a lot easier than spreadsheets as well. But that's a good.
For me, it does. Yes.
Okay, good.
Can I ask where you can get that from, or where you can look at it?
If you were to search Club Treasurer, that's what it's called. It would come up and show you. You can go through and do some dummy accounts on it, I think. Okay. I remember. But we've been on it for about 4 years, I think now. So, and it works very easy. When I do my accounts, it takes me hardly any time at all to do. I have our end of year accounts finished by the middle of July.
Wow.
Every year.
Yeah, I have to say ours are, but we've got a pretty good set of spreadsheets, a nice system that we use, and everything goes into a folder like that. So that is pretty much, that's up to date almost every couple of days. So it's kind of easy to use, but I wondered if there's a better format, to be honest.
Yeah, when I took over from my predecessor, she'd had a complicated set of spreadsheets that I couldn't even work out. I couldn't understand at all. And so I was looking for something that was going to make it easier. And although I'm not an accountant, I did have some knowledge of accounting. and it just seemed to me like it was really easy. For me, it's been really easy.
Perfect.
So is there a charge for
There's
you?
clearly a fee attached to it.
They're not going to be late. You know, to be getting ready.
At the moment, the fee is £60 a year, but it's about to go up to, I think it's £100 a year.
+7. Only +7.
Okay, good.
Yeah, at some point, Chris, if you want, I'll sit and show you what I do with it.
I'd love to come down and have a chat with you about it. If that's all right.
Yep.
Okay. Any useful tools? This was just a little thing I thought I'd mention. Some of the things that I use both at district level and at club level. Just some software tools that we all make use of. Does anybody use Dropbox apart from us? Dropbox is a really useful tool that you can have, which enables you to share documents throughout with other members of the club, the other club officers and all that sort of stuff. So
Chris, can I just also say that in Club Treasurer, if I put an entry in, I can then attach to it the documentary evidence from Dropbox.
Yep.
And then when I send my accounts in to be inspected, I give our inspector read-only access to Club Treasurer.
Perfect.
And he's got all the accounts and all the documentary evidence.
Perfect.
So in fact, I don't keep paper files now.
No.
That it's all online.
Exactly. And that's actually because I use Dropbox for exactly that sort of thing, even though I use an Excel spreadsheet for the accounts. That means that I don't have any paperwork here at all. I'm not going to show you my desk because my desk is a pile of paper, but no, I've got the accounts aren't in paper form at all. I scan and destroy basically. Cognito Forms is quite useful for all sorts of things, generating inquiries, generating enabling you to enlist the opinions of people and all sorts of things, and even for if you recall, we've even used it in the past within the district to collect information about things like crocus corms, which is quite useful. And if you really want to, you can even take payment through
yes
forms as well, which is quite useful.
Yes.
Ticket Tailor is something that we use actively both within the club and the district. You've probably, if you've been to any district events in the last couple of years, you'll have certainly used Ticket Tailor. The most recent event I've set up within Ticket Tailor within the club, this is how within our club we invite people to volunteer for our Santa sleigh. Each evening is set up as a different ticket type on Ticket Tailor, and there are a limited number depending on how many collectors you want and all the rest of it. And people just go in and register, and they effectively buy a free ticket to become a member of the team, and it can be used for all sorts of things. So it's a worthwhile thing. The fee it's free if the event is free, which is why we use it for that sort of thing. There is a fee which is I think 50p per ticket plus VAT. If you actually charge for a ticket, although you can buy credits in advance, which reduces the cost a little, so that you can actually reduce the cost a bit. So, for instance, you'll have seen if you've come to any of the recent events at district level, things like conference or handover lunch and that sort of thing, you'll find there's always a little thing on the bottom that says, would you like to cover the cost of the booking? And that covers the cost of both the credit card charge and the Ticket Tailor cost, if you choose to. And of course, I don't suppose any of us can survive without a credit card machine these days, can we?
No.
There are a number of them on the market. I'm sure we're all familiar with those sorts of things now. And ever since a few years ago, when cash became a bit of something of the past, then obviously they're just useful tools to have. So really, that's all I wanted to do today. I was interested to understand, first of all, what do you feel you need support with in any way, shape, or form? Anybody got any thoughts? Any things that they need over and above what they've got now?
No, I think tonight's been very, very good. Not many questions not been answered, actually, Chris.
Good, good. I'm pleased.
Yeah, it's Peter here. I'd say I'd definitely be interested in this club treasurer thing because, as I say, I took over from an accountant of 50 years' experience who has lots of detailed spreadsheets, use trial balances to prepare the accounts, and produces accounts with about 15 pages in them. And I'm trying to follow that through logically to reproduce that. And whilst I have done it, it's taken me forever and a day.
Right.
So if we've got something like, okay, and I can manage that just about because I've got experience of using Excel spreadsheets and such like. But anybody to follow me, I don't think there's anybody else in the club who probably could do what I'm doing at the moment. So anything that we can roll out which makes life easier, that'd be great.
Okay, okay. Sounds like you might have to lead a club treasurer webinar, Mike.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chris, have you got the web address of Club Treasurer, or do you want me to send it to you?
Yes, please.
Yep, I'll send that.
I'll distribute that to everyone here as well.
I'm pretty sure that you can go in and set up a dummy organisation and run some dummy accounts.
That would be a really, really good thing to do. Okay. The final item there, I wasn't sure whether to propose this, but I thought, as we've all been quite open here tonight, and we've had quite some good conversations, or at least from my viewpoint, we have. Is there any point in us setting up, I don't know, something like a WhatsApp group or something like that, so that if ever we've got queries that we want some advice on, that.
Why are you suddenly having definite worry any other week?
Sorry, Mike, didn't get that. Okay. Is there any appetite for doing something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can I just give my apologies? Well, first of all, my thanks, Chris, for running this evening. But I need to go. We have a choir rehearsal in about 20 minutes, and I've got to get somewhere else.
That's fine.
Maureen is shouting in my ear, "Time to go."
No, that's fine. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming along tonight, and thanks for your input. And yeah, by all means, we'll see you again soon.
Chris, I've got one question. I know we have to pay for our website. Whereabouts do I find the invoice for the website? Or
is this through the template system?
Yeah, right. I'm not sure.
What do you do? The template system.
Yeah.
If your website is the RIBI template system, then you simply make a donation of a minimum of £50 to foundation.
Right.
If you're familiar with the foundation contribution form, are you familiar with that?
I think I've seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go onto the foundation contribution form, you'll find that one of the categories against which you can pay money is web.
Oh, brilliant!
And you put the money in there. You put the money in there, and then once you've done it, your webmaster goes onto the admin page for the website and extends the expiry date of the website.
Oh, right. So it's actually got.
And if you don't do that, your website disappears.
Right. Okay. I'll try and sort that out. Thank you.
That's fine.
Two things, Chris. One, yes, I'd be happy to form part of the WhatsApp group if that would, if everybody else is there, that would be quite useful, I think, at times.
Okay.
And secondly, I asked this question some time ago. Last year, I was one of the very first to pay for the crocus corns from Harwich.
Right.
And I was that early that actually I got chased for the money later, only to so I had to go back so far to find it.
Yes, that was me, wasn't it?
Yeah. This year, I haven't paid it yet because I don't know where to pay it. So if somebody could let me know, we only went for, I can't remember how many corns we went for, but I haven't paid the money yet. I've got
that wasn't a full box, though, was it, Andy?
No, it wasn't. I've got 50 to pay. And because it wasn't a full box, it has to go somewhere else, I believe. On the I know Steve's sitting in the background there somewhere, isn't he? So he might be thinking.
Yeah, Steve's the man to advise on that.
Yeah.
So I think
if I don't know if he's in the background can hear, whether he could just send me an email or something with something on it, I'd be very grateful.
In case he's not, I'll follow that up. I think it's direct to him, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Or to his club. I'm not sure which. So
Steve Dow Get Rich Quick Fund.
Yeah, well, we all need a retirement fund of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, if you would, I know that's a side issue, but while I remember.
No problem. Simone.
Thank you.
Can I suggest that we have an email group rather than WhatsApp? Sorry, I find it quite difficult to keep up on WhatsApp when lots of people are using it, whereas an email forum would be much easier for me to keep on top of, if you like.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
No problem.
So, if anybody here is also familiar with the with what happens with the template website, they use a web-based forum called Groups.io. Maybe I'll look into Groups.io rather than a WhatsApp group and set something up there. Okay. What I'll do on that one, I'll push out a note to all of the treasurers to see what sort of feedback we get on that, and even if it is only a few of us who feel they can benefit from it, then we'll go ahead and set something up.
Okay, good.
Okay. Last but by no means least, any other thoughts?
No, I think these webinars are pretty good. I mean, you've obviously been through so much tonight, but it would be helpful, maybe even once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Just to get on a Zoom meeting like this.
Okay. That was going to be my next question: is were you happy with what we've achieved tonight?
Very much so.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, very good.
Good.
Very
Excellent.
much so.
And in that case, what I'll propose is that if we put together a little forum, and then maybe schedule another one of these, I don't know, April, May time, something like that.
Yeah.
Fine, absolutely fine.
Chris, also, could I ask if you could share your slides with us?
Yes, I'll ship the slides out. Steve's been good enough to record this for us as well, so I'm planning to send out the recording. So with any luck, we should see that some other people might see the benefit of this as well.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, because our treasurer hasn't actually made it, the full recording, so we can sit quietly and go through it, would be best for us.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Okay, well, look, thanks ever so much for taking the time out tonight. I'm sorry if I've taken you away from other things you would otherwise be doing, but thanks ever so much for your attention, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, Chris.